Hello everyone, welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel. Either way, it's good to have you here. This video this week, we're just going to do a quick summary of the techniques that psychics use to trick people. Okay. For those who aren't new to the channel, you will maybe recognize that this is a clip I've pulled out of other psychic videos. I want to have a standalone of this so I can refer people just to a techniques video versus telling them that they have to watch it within another video. So enjoy. I've just adjusted and added some subtitles to things and sort of edited it based on feedback I got from the original video. So yeah, here it is. All the techniques that psychics employ to trick their clients. I first need to teach you how these fake psychics do this, how they do their grift. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you all of the techniques that these mentalists use to fake being a psychic so that you will better understand and recognize when you see a technique being used. That is when you want to question whether or not this person is even psychic, because if they're psychic, they shouldn't have to use a magic parlor trick technique to get the answers they're looking for. Art, we're going to get into hot reading.
Oui, bien. Je hebt een vriendin, Julie de... Ja. Voor een huis dat van eigenaar gaat veranderen. 750.000 euro. Ja, eigenlijk.
Oh my god. Oh man. Dat vind je eng.
So, hot reading. This technique is used by some television psychics in conjunction with cold reading. Clients may be scheduled ahead of time where they meet with an assistant or the mentalist themselves, and that is where the info on this subject is collected. Also, the subjects are often called sitters, so you hear me refer to them as that. The psychic may then be briefed on the information and told where the person will be sitting in the audience as well. So some things that psychics or, fake psychics have been caught doing in the past is they'll have things like audience cards. Even like faith healers were caught like with people's prayer cards filled out, and they were using the cards as a way to gather the information as to why this person was there. So things like that, like a questionnaire or something when the audience member comes in. As well, psychics have been caught with plants in the audience, like people sitting in different seats listening in and feeding information back. Also, background research is very common, especially when you're seeing these psychics do like smaller readings one-on-one or with a small group of people. They'll usually do background research. They can also do this because when you buy tickets to these shows, you're inputting your information. You put your name, your address, all that sort of stuff, and they'll do research on the person that bought the ticket, and then they'll know like which seat that they're sitting in too, and that also helps with their hot reading. So these are all examples of hot reading, and this is stuff that these psychics actually do. Don't put it past them. They actually go through and put this effort in to do this. I want to tell you about someone named Lior Suchard. Sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but he's a mentalist, and he uses a method where he tears paper up to get an answer, but he does it like before something happens in front of the cameras, so it makes him look amazing, like he's doing this magic ability. So I'm just going to show you an example of a mentalist here. The idea being that I want you to understand like the tricks that they do, that these people do. And this is like a mentalist magician or whatever, although he keeps saying that he's not a mentalist, but he's not claiming to be a psychic, but he's clearly a magician. But I just want to show you more examples of other things, other hot reading things that aren't just research, but like parlor tricks that some of these psychics and mentalists do. Also, this channel is The Wise Uncle, and I definitely recommend that you go and subscribe to him as well. He's quite knowledgeable and good at explaining this stuff.
How does a mentalist get the name? One is called center tear.
Over to the right to the half, and then you lift the back front up just like that. And you can see the word ends right here, so you're going to tear down very thin, making sure you do not hit that word, just like that. So you're going to be tearing off these pieces. Now just take them and hold them behind your right hand and spin the paper. So you're now going to tear over here, bring that piece behind, making sure not to hit the word, spin it, tear it again just like that. Now at this point, the center piece should be in the front. And now I slightly bend it with my thumb, I take my middle finger and push it back a little, so bringing a little opening. And now I ask them to open up their hand, and while I'm doing that, I'm flipping the piece open with my thumb and simply reading it. They hold open their hand, you tear it up and put it in their hand.
Now for the center tear demonstration.
You write a number between 58 and 100, inside and you close. But don't show me, do it over there, please. If I destroy it, you still know the number? Whatever happens, don't tell me the number. Please, it's very important. Whatever happens, don't tell me the number. Please, it's very important.
If you happen to be interested in Lior Suchard already, I definitely recommend go checking out the whole series. I will, of course, always put links to everyone, all my references and everything will be in the references as well in the description. Cold reading is all about warming up the subject by telling them things that the reader shouldn't know.
I got interested in mind reading and fortune telling, fake fortune telling, and I got to know a lot of old fakes who had retired as millionaires, and they told me their secrets, how you do it. There are things that are called cold readings. Cold reading is you warm up the sucker by telling him things that he says, how could he ever know that, you see? You say, between the ages of 13 and 15, you had a great change in your life. It happens to everybody's life.
Without prior knowledge, a practiced cold reader can quickly obtain a great deal of information by analyzing the person's body language, age, clothing, fashion, hairstyle, gender, sexual orientation, religion, ethnicity, education, manner of speech, place of origin, etc. They can do a lot. They can figure out a lot, is the point. And they can do this all with a cold reading line of questioning. Cold readings commonly employ high probability guesses, picking up on signals of whether the guesses are in the right direction or not. So they kind of read the body language of the person to figure out if they're in the right, frame and guessing correctly. So what happens when a psychic misses on their cold reading guesses?
And we're the 5 kids in the family.
Yeah, there's more than 5.
How many?
6.
So out of the psychic math now we know we do 5 minus 1, right? 5 are similar, 1's different.
Okay.
So how can I have 5 being similar, 1 being different?
Not sure.
Is it that 5 are living and 1's past? Or
No.
6 are living in
There's
3
there's
plus.
6 girls and...
how many total?
Sorry, there's 8 altogether in the siblings.
No.
Is that right? 9, sorry. Sorry.
9.
Thank you.
So there's 6 girls and 3 boys have passed. Males.
So I need to do it in my way, it's gotta be 5 and 4. Where 5 has something in common and 4 are different. So are 5 close in age, 4 further apart, or how many total passed?
3.
No. I don't know how to split it, but I know it's gotta be 5 and 4.
It's okay, John Edward. I'm sure you'll find some way out of this situation.
And I know that somebody passed with something impacted to their head or something that affects their head, correct?
Oh, just dismiss it and move on. No one will notice, right?
The psychic will then emphasize and reinforce any accurate connections while quickly moving on from misguesses. Psychologists believe that this appears to work because of the Barnum effect and due to confirmation bias within people, which we will get into the Barnum effect and confirmation bias in a minute. But first, what's always interesting is a psychic throwing out numbers. The sitter then gives the answers, and often a lot of clips you'll see they start with 5. They use the most common numbers, names, letters, sounds like that. J for John, Mary, James, so forth. And throwing out like random names, random letters, and sounds and numbers. And they do this quickly until someone picks up on it. And this is called the shotgun method. And let me show you an example.
Who had the issue with the brain? Aneurysm, brain tumor, Alzheimer's, or dementia?
I have somebody's father who's coming through, who's telling me to talk about they either had lung cancer or they had something that I would see as being pulmonary related. And I feel like I'm supposed to talk about something with the anchor. I don't know if there's a connection to the anchor on the person's body or if there's a connection that somebody has the anchor with them, but I'm seeing an anchor in some way, but it's in that back section. There's a J or a G sounding name, either living or past, that's connected to them, and somebody that might came together, like 2 people who came together, or they might be sitting next to each other, has somebody who passed from a and they're telling me to talk about a W sounding name.
When they're doing these shotgun methods, they're also picking out common things. Like the number 5 is a very common number for, it could be 3 kids, 2 parents, 5 kids, family of 5 in some way. Sometimes people include their pets. 5 is like a good number for the size of a family. And as well, if they're talking about like relatives that were born, like baby boomers, a lot of times they were born in groups of 5. So So 5 is a common number that you'll hear thrown around. Another one that I'll just show you here is they pick the common names. So you'll see a lot of cold readings will start off with a J or James, because James is the number 1 male name and Mary for a female. And so you'll hear a lot of them with their cold readings throw out M, an M name, Mary, Ma, Mer, things like that. James, J, like, and they just kind of throw that out because these are the most common numbers and common names. And that's what they're doing during the shotgun method until somebody bites. If you want to know more details about the statistics behind these common choices using like common popular names and numbers, I recommend you go watch the rest of Holy Kool-Aid's video where he actually breaks it down with all the math and everything. And I'm not going to include it all in here. You guys can go watch his video. Barnum effect, aka warm reading. Well, hot readings use gain knowledge beforehand, and cold reading uses cues in the moment. Warm readings use the Barnum effect statements. These statements usually apply to everyone. The Barnum effect is the tendency to accept certain information as true, such as character assessments or horoscopes, even when the information is so vague that it really is worthless. The Barnum effect is a psychological manipulation, and when used properly, the mentalist or psychic comes across as a gifted person when they're really not. In reality, the statements fit nearly all of humanity, regardless of gender, personal opinions, age, culture, so forth. Let me give you some example Barnum effect statements so you can understand some more about them. You have a great deal of unused capacity, which you have not turned into your advantage. You prefer a certain amount of change and variety and become dissatisfied and hemmed by restrictions and limitations. You pride yourself as an independent thinker and do not accept others' statements without satisfactory proof. At times, you have serious doubts as to whether you have made the right decision or done the right thing. Sometimes you're extroverted and social, while other times you're introverted and wary and reserved. While you have some personality weaknesses, you're generally able to compensate for them. Oftentimes, people apply the Barnum effect just to general things, such as having a belief in horoscope and thinking that's going to be meaningful to your life. And I will say, like, I believe in astrology, so I totally understand, like not everyone does. As well, things like thinking a magician's trick is able to happen because they're reading your mind. Some people relate to memes or jokes as if they're about themselves. Taking personality tests and agreeing with the results as if it's specific to you when they're very generalized. Feeling that a fortune teller, medium, or psychic knows all about your life. As well, reading a fortune cookie and saying, oh yeah, this really relates to me. We do it to ourselves with the Barnum effect as well.
The older man, like you associate with the initial B, an older man who's probably in your family or close to your family, and he's always suffered long term with a pain at the sort of back of his chest region, okay? But when you think of him, you always think of that death thing that he does that makes you laugh.
The letter B, but that's Brian.
You're generally outgoing, you make friends easily, that applies to number 1 as well. You are sociable, but just occasionally you feel really detached and insecure about yourself. It's almost as though you're kind of zooming out and watching yourself from a camera from above, something like that.
I'm on TV, so everybody thinks we're all chatting this and that, but do you know, when I get home, I'm really quite quiet.
You've got a scar. It's only a small scar, and it's not from an operation, it's from an accident you had years ago, and it's on your left leg in the middle.
I have got a scar on my left leg in the middle.
You make friends very, very easily, but you've actually got very few close friends, and part of the reason for that is because you tend to bottle things up, and you should let things go, and fairly recently, you feel you've been betrayed by a friend. It's actually partly your own fault, but you still feel like you've been betrayed by a close friend.
All of those things.
You have a recurring dream where you're falling, like not falling, but almost flying down an escalator or some stairs. Right? This alternates, only very sporadically, with a dream about being held underwater. You're struggling to catch your breath.
Well, it's kind of me, basically.
I mean, that's me.
And that was Paul Zenon, and he's a former psychic turned mentalist, and he exposes the tricks of psychics. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is our tendency to take in information by looking for or interpreting things that are consistent with our existing beliefs. And we do this unintentionally. We don't really do this knowingly. It's just sort of something that becomes innate within us. It ends up resulting in a person ignoring information that is inconsistent with their beliefs, and they kind of get tunnel vision. So when it comes to psychics and mediums, if a person has very strong beliefs that this psychic is going to be able to talk to their deceased loved one, then when they go to these readings, the smallest little thing that a medium gets correct, they're going to then say that the whole reading was correct, and they're going to ignore all the misses and all the incorrect information because they're going in with a bias already that they are saying that the psychic is real and is going to be able to help me talk to said person. We see this a lot with people that come in and say, oh, Sylvia Brown, she was real. Oh, John Edwards, he's real. Sylvia Brown, she got the COVID prediction correct. No, she predicted like 50 other diseases at the same time in that book. And she lived through a pandemic before. It wouldn't be hard for her to just be predicting multiple pandemics. It's just coincidence that that happened. There were other diseases that she also predicted that never happened. Not to mention the details of her COVID prediction, what she said the disease, how it's supposed to act. That isn't how COVID has been acting. But people who have a belief system that they just believe in psychics wholeheartedly without question, they're just going to look at that one little thing as an example and say all of her predictions are real and she's completely real because one thing she happened to coincidentally get correct. And that is the general gist of confirmation bias. We tend to do it to ourselves as well. Even there's believers out there who think that people that are skeptics, they believe that we've created a confirmation bias that we don't want to believe, therefore we never will believe. But a lot of them don't bother to listen to us when we keep telling them that we are believers and we aren't just doing a confirmation bias, like we aren't going tunnel vision with this stuff. We do analyze these things. But, this is part of human nature. We just tend to do this. We go tunnel vision on certain belief structures. So hopefully that all makes sense. If you have any questions about it as well, go ahead, throw it down in the comments.
Let's say that I strongly believe that eating a bag of chocolate every day is good for me. I will look for every piece of information that proves my belief that eating a bag of chocolate every day is good for me, while ignoring all of the information that disproves my idea. This can get especially tense with someone who does not believe that eating a bag of chocolate every day is good for me. You can probably see where this is going, and you've probably been in this situation where you're not arguing about a bag of chocolate, but something a lot more heated. So why does this happen? Well, it turns out that this is a result of our brains looking for more efficient ways to interpret information. Our brain looks at reality in a certain way and filters all information through that worldview. It is much easier to keep our current worldview than to keep changing it when new facts come along. So our brains have a bias towards maintaining what we already know and not shaking things up too much, as that makes it slower and more difficult to process information. The problem with this, obviously, is many times we ignore information that doesn't confirm what we already know in order to maintain our current worldview. Topics and beliefs that have a lot of emotion behind them can make people more prone to confirmation bias, especially if they identify with them.
The Rainbow Ruse. So a rainbow ruse tributes someone with opposing personality traits, and confirmation bias does the rest. I'll do a little explanation here from Holy Kool-Aid.
You sometimes feel an extroverted urge to burst out of your shell, but reservations frequently inhibit these feelings, and you're often comfortable allowing others to get the attention. How accurate is this description of you? You see, nobody is entirely introverted or entirely extroverted. If you're more extroverted, you'll think, wow, I'm extroverted and sometimes introverted. This statement applies to me. And if you're more introverted, you'll think, wow, I'm introverted and sometimes extroverted. This statement applies to me.
And that's why these statements work so well. As well, reading body language is not difficult to slip into a rainbow ruse reading too, and they usually do. The rainbow ruse is a crafted statement which simultaneously awards the subject a specific personality trait, as well as the opposite of the trait. With such a phrase, a cold reader can cover all their possibilities and appear to have made an accurate deduction in the mind of the subject. Even though these statements are vague, the person who's being read still gets attracted and applies themselves to the statement. This technique is used because nearly everybody has experienced both sides of a particular emotion at some time in their lives. Let me give you some more examples of these rainbow ruse statements. Most of the time, you're positive and cheerful, but there's been a time in the past when you were very upset. You are a very kind and considerate person, but when somebody does something to break your trust, you feel deep-seated anger. I would say that you're mostly shy and quiet, but when the mood strikes you, you can easily become the center of attention. So, a cold reader can choose from a variety of personality traits and think of its opposite, then bind the two together in a phrase. They pretty much are vaguely linked by mood, time, or potential, and then they kind of see how the person reacts and go from there. When the mentalist or psychic gets a hit, they push it to get the sitter to open up more so they can create more predictions based on the feedback from the statements. Additionally, the psychic will try and create some questions that are yes-no only. So things like, you haven't been going out a lot lately, have you? By restricting the possible answers to either yes or no, it's easy for the psychic to prepare for how the follow-up response and follow-up questions should be. And this is something that John Edward does quite a lot if you watch some more of his readings. The person will respond with something like yes or no, and then the psychic says, I thought not, or I thought so, depending on the given answer, and it makes the psychic seem like they're more accurate. And this all relates back into the Barnum effect. These Rainbow Ruse and Barnum effect work together. They best work together, and they pretty much overlap with one another. So in tandem, it gives a full experience of a very gifted psychic. Let me show you something from Penn and Teller.
And I get the sense that she's, for some reason or another, a little nervous.
The bereaved son doesn't respond to nervous, so Rosemary completely turns it around.
Which is so not like her, because she's really talkative and pushy and out there.
Nice save. Was she tall and short too?
Subconscious cold reading. Subconscious cold reading was discovered by New Age practitioner Carla McLaren. After performing many cold readings successfully, the psychic's ability becomes refined and they get better at performing these cold readings. Because of this, they begin to truly believe that they are psychic. They believe their success is because of their intuition and psychic ability. Essentially, they lie to the point that they convince themselves that they're psychic. They honestly believe they are. Some skeptics also call this transcendental temptation. Magic historian and occult investigator Milbourne Christopher has warned that transcendental choice may lead one unknowingly into a belief of the occult and a deterioration of reason. I do think that this is an interesting point to discuss. On top of people who are just naturally perceptive of human nature, usually empaths, they can just read people very quickly and easily. So does that make us psychic? Is that what psychic really is? This topic it does really interest me most. As all of you know, I did grow up in the circuit, and I even do tarot, I do astrology, numerology, and so forth for my friends. I don't take it too seriously, it's not a career or anything. And I do it for myself too. It's nothing special. It's not for money, but I've done this since I was very young. I was taught by my mom. So am I psychic, or is it just my empathy? And I was trained by my mom at an early age to be really perceptive as well to people and body language and so forth. So is this what psychic is? Are we really psychic, or are we just convinced ourselves that we are? Are there dreams? I've had dreams that seem like premonitions, and are they just normal dreams based on movies, TV shows, and books that I've read? Or is there something actually to it? Is me being raised in this, have I convinced myself that this is what I am? I fit into this area? I don't know. But anyway, let me know your thoughts below. It might warrant its own video as well. I do find the topic interesting because I do often wonder about this, and I do kind of discussing this and sort of debating it. Healthy debate, healthy discussion about it. But all this leads into the art of mentalism, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Mentalists.
Hey, you're not hiding anything. Something. Your inside jacket pocket is making you nervous. No. What do you have in there? What do you think? A wallet? Well, why are you wanting to hide your wallet from us? I don't. It's just a wallet. Hey, you can't do that. It's a gray area. Okay, there's nothing in there. Well, looky here. Callie Carlson. That's our girl, isn't it? Okay, I have never seen that before in my life. Really? Has this wallet been out of your possession recently? No, but I swear, I've never seen that before. I swear I don't know what's out.
They took our suspect.
Oh, they took their suspect.
What is his name? What photos of his wallet?
I took it from Callie's apartment for just such an occasion.
So mentalists, they're the combination of all these things. They're combined as well with parlor tricks, showmanship, and just really every trick in the book. Mentalists use all the techniques and are very talented, and they come across as very powerful people who can even control minds sometimes too. When it comes down to it, mentalism is deductionism, body language, logic deduction, observation, and psychology, as well as a little manipulation thrown in there. Oh, and don't forget the stage magic as well. The best mentalist out there right now, in my opinion, for a skeptic to do a deep dive on is Darren Brown. He actually does a lot of debunking and things like that too. So I definitely recommend you go check him out. With James Randi gone, like I said, I do hope that Darren fully takes on the role of debunking, as he has already been debunking psychics and mentalists and things like that. People who are pushing lies that it's not just parlor tricks. Essentially, he goes around and debunks them. And he has a show as well that's on YouTube that you can go check out, his channel. Mentalists try to set up a sense of cooperation between themselves and the subject or the sitter, such as asking them to think in their minds there's something that they want to convey to the mentalist. If the techniques do not lead to answers, the mentalist will just say something like, oh, today's an off day, or spirit isn't here, and the strength of the connection isn't there, things like that, to kind of overlook their mistake in not being able to pick up enough. And, diverting the topic and diverting the person when he gets something wrong is also a really important thing that psychics do, especially these ones that do these big group medium readings. Sitter misremembering. I had an example of one of Darren Brown's shows, but unfortunately, all of his content, he has copyright claims, so I can't show you any clips. I definitely still recommend you check out his channel, but I'm just going to describe to you this example. Essentially, this woman had a reading, and the guy was doing a cold reading. He said that her mother had 5 children in the family. Well, he said the number 5, and she associated it with 5 children. And that was the only thing that he got correct in the reading. But after he left, Darren and the woman were talking a bit, and she's like, no, actually, it was 6 children. I miscounted in the moment. And that's just an example of sitter misremembering is, you tend to realize after the fact that only one thing was right, or maybe nothing was right at all, because they do a lot of misdirection during these readings. So sitter misremembering. In the moment, sitters feel like the readings that they got were highly successful, but after the dopamine wears off and after the pizzazz wears off, they think on it, or if they choose to think on it, they might notice that things weren't as successful as they originally thought during the reading. The human brain attempts to make connections that then make it appear that the psychic was correct when they really weren't. And psychics take advantage of this for sure. And doing things like shotgunning and going really quickly is a good way for us to misremember things that happened during the readings as well. People don't notice or remember the misses if the techniques are done well with a good psychic using these techniques, a fake psychic. As we've seen, magic is an art form. It relies on technique, skill, and deception. And while it's easy to get caught up in the mystique and wonder of it all, it's essential to remember that there's logical explanations behind all of these little tricks that they employ. This whole video, I'm trying to teach you how fake psychics do this, so that you can just watch one of these fake psychics and apply this knowledge and realize that they are just doing these techniques and they're not real psychics. All right, thank you guys for checking this one out, and I will see you guys in a live or next week in the premiere for Teresa Caputo's big deep dive. It's huge. I've got 10-15 hours recorded. It's a lot, so I'm working through it. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.